So without further ado, please welcome Uncle Bud.
I do appreciate y'all having me out here today. I'm so excited to be here. I want to start off, though, by wishing all of the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. We do appreciate y'all. Now, it was Mother's Day in 1969. I was 8-year-old, and I was at homecoming, and I was hiding in the graveyard. Now, there is a tradition in the rural South for extended families to come together on special occasions like Mother's Day, and my family held their celebration in a little unincorporated community up in North Alabama called Oak Grove. And we gathered underneath the oak trees that separated the Baptist church from the Methodist church, and my mother's Baptist people from my father's Methodist people. And we called it homecoming. Now, these two little churches sat side by side, right slap dab in the middle of hundreds of acres of open farmland, and it was the only place that I had ever been that you still had to use an outhouse. Now, there'd be dinner on the ground, which some folks call potluck, where all of my family's women folk would compete to see who could take the most disgusting vegetable that they could find, put it into a casserole, completely disguise the flavor with cheese. The first empty casserole dish wins. And there'd be all day preaching, because including my father, both of my grandfathers, and assorted uncles and cousins, there'd be 11 preachers vying for pulpit time. And my cousin Faye would get saved. Each time. Now, these two little churches there, like I say, they sat right there in the middle of all of this open farmland. And since I had relatives in both pulpits, I could tell my mother I was at the Methodist church, tell my daddy I was at the Baptist church, and me and my cousins would play hide-and-go-seek in that big cemetery across the street. Now, on this particular night, it had just gotten good dark, and the moon was shining real bright and hanging low in the sky and casting these long shadows over the final resting place of my ancestors, perfect for hiding. And I was crouched down behind my Uncle Duford Hightower's tomb, and all of a sudden, I hear this blood-curdling scream come from across the way, and I see some kids running, and I jump up and follow them, and we all gather right there in the middle of the cemetery around my cousin Renee, who was evidently having an episode. Well, she was crying and spitting and pointing and trying to catch her breath. Her sister Tammy was trying to calm her down. Finally got her calmed down enough for Renee to just like just one word. Ghost. Now, I do want to point out now that Renee's actually my second cousin. Her mother, Faye, the one I mentioned earlier, she was my first cousin. But she was older and strange. My daddy used to say that whole side of the family was weirdos and prone to exaggeration and excitable. But it was evident that Renee had seen something. Now, finally, I got her calmed down enough, and the way that she told it, she was over on the very edge of the cemetery, hiding behind my great Aunt Helen's tomb, when all of a sudden, she caught some movement out of the corner of her eye, and she turned and looked, and a ghostly white figure rose up from the grave, and it hung in the air. And about the time she convinced herself she was seeing things, it rattled its chains at her and went, whoa. Well, it was decided that the bravest of us would go to investigate. Of course. And I'm telling you that I did not think we would find a single thing. But I must admit that as we walked toward that edge of the cemetery, the hair on the back of my neck started to stand up just a little bit. And the closer we got, the slower we walked, in single file, like old Scooby-Doo, Well, when we got there, some clouds had moved over in front of the moon. It was pretty dark. And we looked around and didn't see a thing at all. And then all of a sudden, I heard this kind of a clanking noise. And then, and just then, the moon broke through the clouds and shone bright, and I turned and looked, and right there my blood ran cold. I was there dancing in the moonlight, not more than 25 feet away from me. A ghostly white figure dipped down to the ground and raised back up, and as it did, it went ooh, and rattled its chains, and I turned around and everybody else had gone. But in that moment, I began to realize where I might have heard that clinking noise before. And just about the time I got two and two put together, I saw the headlights of a pickup truck bouncing across that field, and when it turned my way, it revealed our ghost. And there, scratching her neck on a fence post, was a black Hereford cow with the whitest face that you ever saw. And as she scratched, she expressed her pleasure with a ooh. And her cowbell clanked like the long and ponderous chain that Jacob Marley forged in life and carried with him through all eternity. She had missed her dinner bell. But, just like in the Bible story, the shepherd left the 99 and found the one. So, I reckon that Bessie had herself a homecoming too.